a funny bird singing as she flies. She'll bring you glad tidings, tell you no lies. From pretty flowers to make her voice clear, and she'll never sing cuckoo till the spring of the year. He'll come by. I'll meet him with the sunrise, for he's all my delight. Could walk with my true love from morning till night. She's a merry bird, forgetting as she flies. Her tears have stopped falling by the time the clock strikes 5. Walking and talking, wandering no. I'll wait for my true love, he'll come by. I'll beat him with the sunrise, for he's all my delight. Could walk with my true love from morning till night. Till night, till night, till night. To come by. I loved him in springtime, he was all my delight. When autumn set in, he up and took flight.
Judy, how you doing?
Hey, Eddie, how you doing?
Very well.
I guess we're here to discuss something about a trip.
or trees, or the significance of trees, and South in Padanaram Avenue. It seems to be maybe a dull topic to some, but to many, it's a great, including the mayor's wife, Scott Gig, is responsible for making sure that trees are planted out to sea. And I would guess when a First Lady of Italy takes an interest in trees, that she's taken it is that those who work for her husband should have some interest.
Yeah, that's true. They should. And they follow the steps of what the mayor is basically trying to do and supporting.
Speaking of Padanaram Avenue and the mayor has given a direct official order, an edict to Larry Warden, who is the commissioner responsible for it. And he seems to be lethargic. He also seems to not want to go forward and to just like disobeying my boss or his boss. It also seems that Larry, in terms of Mr. Warden, in terms of his overall responsibility, tried to sidestep rules, regulations. And sometimes he has a tendency to forget that he's a public with a public responsibility and should be admitting that his not only his job requires, but in particular since the mayor has supported with a group of us, along with Chris Deacons, his executive director of the Harbor Commission, that a tree be planted in Padanaram Avenue. Mr. Tony Amaral has agreed to pay for it, but yet still, that was 2 weeks ago, and we still.
Oh, well, it's been longer than 2 weeks ago. The tree was a replacement tree, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you have to replace a tree?
Well, in Bedford? Well, it shouldn't take long, especially since the tree was originally taken down. Let's see, we have a letter here dated October 2nd, 2000, when it was officially reported. There were 3 trees that were taken down. And this was on City Padanaram Avenue, and if anyone has a tree outside their house, then this is important to know that those trees are actually sacred. And you can be liable for them just as you go onto your neighbor's yard and cut one down. And the $500 minimum, and there are even penalties as far as imprisonment in some cases, definite payment for the damage that you cause to take down a tree belonging to the city or by any other private property. The city property, although it is public, is not that you can remove items because you, and I think that's the case that happened here, isn't that right?
Well, it goes beyond just that. It goes beyond. It's an act of defiance by Mr. Glicksman, by Larry Warden, who's supposed to be an impartial arbiter in this. In addition to that, he is a public servant and an employee in New Bedford whose responsibility is to address these issues forthwith. And, you know, like we're talking, it's been more than 2 weeks since we met with the mayor, and it's been longer since this issue has been going. It's not a fact a tree cannot be afforded. Mr. Amaral has agreed to pay for the tree.
Which really isn't necessary because the person who took down the tree is responsible for the payment and the replacement of those trees.
And should be do so.
Yes.
It's not like Mr. Glicksman can afford a tree. Mr. Glicksman can afford to with the city of New Bedford with his wealth. The act of defiance is not only childish and immature, it's also extremely petty into trying to prove a point that he obviously can't win. With his degree of influence peddling, not influence peddling, by beer or by way of city citizens, by way of department heads, there's no reason at this point in juncture that tree not be coming out of the ground and should be in full bloom by the time we reach this point next spring. Yet and still, it's there.
Well, you know, it's going to be a long time to actually place that tree unless they spend an awful lot of money, because that was a 10-foot blue spruce tree. that was taken down. It was confirmed in October 2nd, 2002 by Mr. Warden himself, who went out there and visibly saw the damage and checked to make sure that it was on city property. And he did confirm that and told the city solicitor at that time was Matt Thomas. And I guess everything just sort of died from there. Nothing more was done. But the system really at that point should have picked up and enforced the laws. I guess the laws that fall on this is Chapter 87, Section 12, that should have been enforced. Now, it's an odd thing that it wasn't, especially since there was a complaint filed and a confirmation of the actions that were done that definitely fell within that.
There is no failure of communication, but there is a great failure of compliance.
Yeah, huge.
A
It's
huge failure of compliance.
Yeah. Why do you suppose that is, Eddie?
I suppose that either the department head under Mayor Lang does not take his decisions to be serious. They defy decision because not in defense as a mayor of a city running almost into all the city budget and the federal money, looking at $400 million. You're looking at over 3,000 employees. And once he says or gives an order or edict to do something, and it should be carried out. I do not know any place in this country or in that form where underlings or department heads, employees, have the right to overrule their immediate supervisor and chief executive officer of a city, such as New Bedford or any city, but in particular, a mayor.
Right.
And so at this juncture, I think that one of the things that we have to do is forcefully go back to the mayor and say, hey, you met with us, you made a commitment, you gave an order, it is not being followed. Next. Now, and the answer to that is to directly order Lawrence Warden, Commissioner of DPW, to do it, and if he don't do it, there are always other assistants, Ken Blanchard or somebody, but the tree needs to be planted.
Now, I understand that the reason that the original tree went down was so that this individual could park their car there up on the sidewalk.
Well, parking on the sidewalk is also a violation.
Illegal. Yeah.
It's
I know that
and an infraction,
Oh,
and
sure.
it's also rude, it's not being courteous.
No.
And it's also defying and disrespecting your neighbors, you're disrespecting streets, you're disrespecting neighborhoods. And this individual who has a second property, although he lives in Dartmouth and votes in New Bedford, that's a strange.
Well, half of them do. The wife and the husband both live together, and they each vote in both separate places. But that's a whole nother story. But it's interesting. It seems to have a pattern, right, Eddie?
You can't live in two houses at one time. This is not leaving the north to go to Florida for the sunshine.
Yeah.
You're talking about some place less than 10 miles away from.
Yeah.
And it will be interesting to check the voter registration logs or over in Dartmouth to see who votes and how many times. You mean to tell me this guy can vote for Patrick or John Quinn, can vote for Tony Cabral or Bob? There just seemed to be something a little off on that.
Yeah.
But to make sure all of those things are public record verified.
Sure, yeah, because that would be interesting as to how those votes would have really gotten there, but.
I'm sure that once this is aired, Mr. Glicksman is going to be hot, but, you know, anger and being upset, that's a temporary state of mind. So I'm sure that he will get over it. We're not sitting here talking about him for this reason, for the reasons of to intimidate or coerce or belittle him. It's just that he is no different than any other citizen of New Bedford. If you own property in New Bedford and you have this property, you have to respect their property rights just as they respect his. And in his behavior in this particular issue, it's not only unwarranted, it is also, you can't justify the behavior. This Padanaram Avenue is a real gorgeous place, a gorgeous part of the city, and certainly trees makes it even that more beautiful. It adds to people who may be visiting the city, people who may be searching out homes, people who maybe want to see what all of New Bedford looks like, and in particularly being close to waters and beaches and things of that nature, a tree adds to the overall beautification of that. And there is no reason for this tree not to be in the ground other than the fact that Larry Warden and Dave Glicksman seem to have some kind of marriage that they feel that they can defy authority, they can defy city orders, and they can just disrespect everyone who's involved in this. And when you put yourself in that position, respect folk, then you got to understand that you're going to get a reaction from that. And you're certainly going to get a reaction from us. And that reaction is not one of violence. It's not one of terror. It's none of that. It's basic understanding that we believe in our city. We believe in our neighbors. There are folks in that neighborhood that we all know and respect and work with over a period of time. We're going to do whatever is in our power to do, make sure that their rights are protected. Along with rights come responsibility. Glicksman often, as an example, the meeting among several of us, including yourself, Dave, Gould, Amaral, we met with the mayor and we met with Kristen Deakers, a meeting. And recently I reviewed comments where he's requesting information under the Massachusetts law, public records law, as well as the Freedom of Well, one, the Freedom of Information Act has nothing to do with this issue. It doesn't cover it. Now the Massachusetts records law perhaps would cover it. There was no conversation there that had been privileged to. He's assuming from an egotistical point of view that this conversation with him, and we spent our time with the mayor's attention and time simply discussing Dave, how wrong he is. And the other thing I understand about this, what did all of the city council do with this? It's nothing that the city council would vote on, that they would even put on a calendar or on a civil agenda. I'm a little disappointed, not a little disappointed, I'm a lot disappointed in the fact that Councilor Leo Pimento seemed to be his personal counsel, and Leo certainly is not a lawyer, far from it. And he seems to represent the interests of a Dartmouth resident over of New Bedford resident, and he is not only councilor of Ward 6, where this issue is taking place, he's president of the city council. His first responsibilities are to residents of Ward 6, permanent residents, taxpayers and homes of Ward 6, and not that Mr. Glicksman don't own a home there. Whether he lives in it or not is another question. But the primary responsibility of Ward 6 Council Leo Pimento is to make sure that laws, rules, regulations, DPW rules and regulations adhered to and implemented. That which he is.
Well, I have something to add to that too. Back in 2002, Mr. Pimentel was one of the people that helped get this report, because Mr. Pimentel, being a ward of that area, was of this and get the proper authority. So I don't even understand how we can do both sides of this, how we can submit Freedom of Information Act and ignore the fact that they probably talked to his constituent, if he is his constituent, and maybe sit down and just try with him, because he has broken the law. He does admit this. Anything that's he just thinks that he's above this. If you or I, Eddie, went outside and chopped down a tree, I'm sure we'd be responsible to pay for that tree, the planting of it, and the demolition of it, and everything. And it's just not the right thing to do. And it seems that when the thieves get caught, they scream not guilty. And but this guy isn't. He's absolutely admitting that it's happened. He's just saying, listen, I wanted to park my car there. If next time we're downtown and we want to chop something down, it's in our way, I guess. If this is allowed, I guess the laws have basically changed by practice. And
Well,
if this is
you chop down something as valuable as a tree, you should be able to go downtown, chop down some of them parking meters and park up on the sidewalk.
You know what? If Mr. Glicksman chopped down parking meters, I'd just shut my mouth.
But I'm sure that someone, if he does not personally watch this broadcast, someone will tell him. And so I want him personally to know part of that conversation dealt with Matt Thomas. And from our assessment conversation, no one in the room, including, is pleased with Matt Thomas' former performance or behavior, and neither am I. And Matt Thomas is not Mr. Glicksman's personal attorney. As a matter of fact, he's not even affiliated with the city anymore. And I don't think that in a client-lawyer relationship, either Mr. Glicksman and Mr. Thomas does not reckon. But it does appear that Larry Ward has an engineering degree and not a lawyer's degree, have taken over the old role and responsibility of Matt Thomas in not getting things done. He is not a mediator. He should not be trying to negotiate settlements. That's not, has already been settled.
Well,
and besides that, he also has public documents in support of everything that we are talking about right now.
Oh, yeah, and it was my understanding that Mr. Warden also sort of is lighting another fire for another problem by suggesting Mr. Glicksman buy the property. I mean, we already have an underlying issue here that's very, very hot, and has been the discrepancies of the former administration that has been there with a land grabbing situation. And I think that this is the underlying issue. It's from what is going on here that this has been sort of eating the cookie one at a time. And we've gotten trees and cars on property that doesn't belong, and then we've had easements and moved fences and taken down fences. Oh, but that thing too, it wasn't just it wasn't 3 trees, it was trees and a fence. Yeah. So, there's quite a bit of boldness behind this that seems to be extraordinary feature for someone to take on someone's property. And it almost makes one wonder where he's getting the boldness to do this. I mean, who's feeding this? And why would Mr. Ward come up with the suggestion for Mr. Glicksman to buy a city property that is already in perpetuity to 104 other people? I don't understand. This issue is going to be addressed in a number of ways.
And we're going to go away. That's the problem that they have right now, in specifically Larry. Now, most people don't know that Larry, the mayor can relieve him of his duty of being commissioner, but the mayor cannot relieve him of his duty of being an engineer, because Larry Warden is one of the few people in administrative positions or management positions that has taken the civil service exam. So could the mayor reduce him in rank and pay? Yes. Could he eliminate his job? The answer to that is obviously no. And there are a lot of adjectives that define Larry Warden at this particular time. Defiance, disrespect, just willful intent to be malicious, being supportive on the wrong side of issues, that he should not be on the wrong side of issues. You know, we're a country of laws. Men die, people die, laws remain. And if you take an oath of office, which Larry Warden did, as do any other public official in those kind of positions, you swear that you are going to hold the laws of the United States, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, city ordinance, and any other rules and regulation that you are responsible to and for. So, all that being said, I think that Commissioner Larry Ward should re-examine this immediately, and this is a message to him. We're not going to go away. That issue is not going to go away. A tree will be planted. We do not wish that Mr. Glicksman pay for it. Mr. Amaral has agreed to pay for the tree.
Which Mr. Glicksman should be grateful for. He is responsible, and that is the law, that he should these things. And
I mean, Tony Amaral in the pay for the tree has reduced his damages to criminal behavior that he's already caused.
Yes, he has.
So to be constantly defiance of everyone in authority of the city of New Bedford is not only foolhardy, it's foolish, it's petty, it's childish, it's immaturity, and it's like, you know, that part of the personality, the super id that says, I want what I want when I want it, but right now. But we're here to tell him that you're not going to get what you want when you want it, and it certainly is not going to be right now.
No. And Mr. Warden needs to listen to the mayor. That is his boss. And the mayor really should take this act of defiance into consideration. I mean, if he does not have the cooperation of the people, I mean, this is a problem. He's not going to get anything. And this does seem like a minor situation, but if tomorrow everybody went out and cut a tree down in front of their place and just said, Mr. Glicksman didn't have to pay for it.
What Mr. Glicksman and Larry Warden is doing is in total indifference to the First Lady of the City of New Bedford. It is her, I hate to repeat myself at the risk of repeating myself, but Big Lang is trying to get trees planted all over New Bedford. Not only are you defying what mayor is doing, you are also defying the First Lady and a task that has been assigned to her and a responsibility that she has taken voluntarily to do along with many more years.
Yeah.
Who is Mr. Glicksman or Larry Warden or any other city official to just totally deny what has been reported publicly, what has been announced publicly, what has been placed in newspapers, what has been placed on cable access, has been placed on radio. So to plead ignorance of the facts or ignorance of law cannot be used as an excuse by Warden or any other city official.
No. Eddie, what do you think the chances are that tree survives planted?
Well, if the tree does die, there will be another tree planted. The tree just mysteriously gets damaged, don't grow. Mr. Glicksman and Larry Warden and those folks should know that we're in the age of technology, and Big Brother and Big are watching you.
Yeah, this is not making it. I don't really have much hope for that tree, but it needs to go bad.
Now, because we're simply talking about a tree now, and it may seem like a minor issue, this is not a minor issue. This is just a prelude to other behavior and other things that a new mayor has to come to grips with. I would personally say, from a personal point of view, that I believe that this mayor is an honest mayor. But that does not mean that the people that were left from an old administration are honest people. It does not, neither does it mean that they are going to comply unless he forces their hand, and have a check and balance system of someone, when he gives an order, needs to check on whether or not tasks that were assigned are completed. And as of now, with a complete new budget, and the city council gave the mayor everything that he wanted in his budget. He has a staff that is responsible to him and not anyone else that can ask the question when, where, how, and if things were done as he ordered them to be done. And that should be the rule of the day, and that should be how things operate, not only in business but in government as well, but particularly in government. You know, people who sometimes work for employers, regardless of who those employers are, will do what they think they can get away with. And right now, Larry Warden and Mr. Glicksman, as a tag team and as partners, they're getting away with with things that just should not be gotten away with.
Yeah, this shouldn't have taken 5 years and a trip to the mayor's office to get this resolved. This is really a situation where responsibility is squarely on the shoulders of the city's, Mr. Warden, and it was the city solicitor at the time that should have taken steps to enforce this. However, that was dropped, but still, the neighborhood decided to Mr. Amaral in particular, decided to just go ahead and replace the tree, which took the burden off them. I mean, with that kind of thing in place, it really shouldn't have taken a trip to the mayor's office to get something resolved. If this is petty, then it needs to be, the bigger issue here is what you're saying, is that we have people working for the mayor that just simply are not listening to him, and they're listening to certain people, and even though in the face of the law and in the face of other people's rights are being, the disparaging treatment of the general public is really being put at risk here. So,
and this is not a major issue. So
No.
if they're not listening to him on minor issues that can be implemented and executed in a period of time, that you do it, you get it over with, and you move on to the next project.
that's right.
How many of the other things are they not listening to him on, and then going back and giving him these glorified reports that, yes, Mr. Mayor, it was done, this task has been completed. They know what we know, that the mayor does neither have the time, because of his other responsibilities, to check up on all of these things, or all of these issues that he are paying people, and these people are highly paid.
Yes.
It's not like
Yes.
they aren't well paid.
That's right.
I mean, you're talking about a guy in the $75,000 to $80,000 category which probably makes more money than the mayor. Whether he makes more money than the mayor or not, the buck stops on the boss's desk, and what the boss say do, you do.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah, and especially where he was involved with the original enforcement and the confirmation of the violation. He squarely knows that this was a violation, and he squarely quoted the law to the city solicitor pertaining this particular issue. So Mr. Warden in 2002 knew what to do, and he still hasn't done it. And it's 5 years and an order from the mayor. What does it take to prod this man?
Well, let me give you an example of something that's happening here. It's just like a judge in a court of law who gives his or her final order, and the two lawyers who have been battling the issue go back and start plea bargaining something that has already been ordered on. You can't do that and get away with.
No.
This is not about plea bargaining. It's about following orders, following the law, following the rules, and doing what you're supposed to do as a public official and a public service with
That's
a
right.
responsibility under city charters, under rules and regulation, under
That's right.
laws. That's what it's about, period.
And this also reminds me of a fable, for the want of a nail. Remember that one?
No, I don't remind me of that one. Please refresh my memory on that one.
Let's hope I get this right. Okay, for the want of a nail, a horse lost a shoe. For the want of a shoe, the horse lost a rider. For the loss of the rider, They lost. I'll have to do this over again, if you want to include it. Anyway, it was about a king that fell off his horse in the middle of battle, and the whole thing stemmed from a shoe on the horse's foot. The blacksmith had lost one nail, and he didn't have another one, and they were in a hurry, so they took the horse off without the extra nail. When they were in battle, the horse threw the shoe, and he threw the rider, who threw the king, who threw the war, who threw the war, who lost the country.
That makes sense.
Yes,
A
for
lot
the
of
want
sense.
of a nail.
And
One nail, one tree, Larry.
and in my closing comments to Mr. Warden and Mr. Glicksman, I learned this from my first grade teacher, which was almost
No, don't tell us.
50, more than 50 years ago. And it goes like this: a wise old owl sat on an oak. The more he heard, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. Why can't they be like that old bird?
Yes. Yes, and with that, Mr. Mayor, I hope that you see this, and I hope that you do take this issue seriously. You do need to have the people that are working for you and implementing your plans into the city. They need to be listening to you. They need to be responding to what it is that you're asking them to do. And I know that you're a man that tries to negotiate things, but this is a clear violation, and I know you're also a man of law. And we're just asking that the law be upheld in the interest of the public, and that there wouldn't be disparaging treatment given to the victims of different crimes that are blatantly done. And I think this would stop a lot of the people from feeling that they're above the law, and it could possibly stop a lot of this special friends business.
And interest. And in the words of General MacArthur, Mr. Mayor, we shall return.
She's a funny bird, singing as she flies. She'll bring you glad tidings, tell you no lies. From pretty flowers to make her voice clear, and she'll never sing cuckoo till the spring of the year. He'll come by. I'll meet him with the sunrise, for he's all mine alive. Could walk with my true love from morning